Hi, I'm Sara Wallis, TV columnist at The Mirror. I'm with Nicola Methven, TV editor at The Mirror, and we are going to talk about that finale of Line of Duty. Should we have a quick look at what happened?
All of these suspicious deaths were orchestrated by one officer in particular. H, the fourth man.
What's going on?
Air foes will secure the suspect. Down!
On police!
Line of Duty on BBC One and iPlayer.
Well, it's a bit of a split, isn't it, Nicola? There are some people who loved it and some people are absolutely raging that it was the most disappointing ending of all time. What did you think of it?
I don't think it was. I don't know why they're quite so cross. It's definitely not the most disappointing ending of all time. There's been far worse than that. It's just not what people were expecting, and maybe they think that. I guess the main criticism is that Buckles, as a character, doesn't feel like the person who H has been previously in other series, and so it's people are sort of like, it can't be him. But we don't really know. We haven't seen an awful lot of him, and our opinion, and mine include, I just think he's this incompetent person, which he is. So he could still be this person. He's obviously motivated by greed, motivated by money, and it leaves us suspecting that he's a sort of, he's still, even though he's H, he's still a puppet with his strings being pulled by someone higher up the chain.
I think that they're saying that this was a comment on real life, that some people can just blunder their way to the top, and there's a lot of corruption, things like that. I don't know what people wanted. I agree with you. I think finales are really hard. It's been a massive series. It's been very hyped, and I'm not sure what ending would have left people happy. I don't know whether, if it had been someone we hadn't really seen at all, people would have been disappointed because we'd not seen them. It couldn't have been one of our heroes because everyone would have needed therapy. I agree with you. I think Buckles maybe needed to turn into suddenly become this evil mastermind in front of us and transform.
But in a way, like you say, it is real life. There are these people that sort of he just goes under the radar a bit, and he has had this series of blunders, but he's been promoted, obviously, despite being incompetent and rubbish at his job, because of who he is and what he does for somebody else. So, I imagine, I don't know what you think, and they haven't said yet, and they keep saying that Jed Mercurio hasn't decided if he's doing another one yet, or the BBC haven't commissioned it. But I imagine the plan is to do one more where it's our trio back together, because there was that conversation in the pub at the end where Kate
where they said mate about 17 times. Mate.
If that's a signal that they're not getting romantic, repeat, it's never going to be romantic. But either way, they see it was like they've got the gang back together, right?
Because that moment where, I don't care what anyone says about the final, I liked it, but that's final where the three of them marched out of that interrogation room like rock stars, and came down in the lift together. I thought, it's the trio back together. I thought the ending is interesting because I watched it with my husband and we both thought I thought it was maybe over and he thought it was coming back. But did you notice they put mugshots going back through the series in order into the box? So it started with Joe Davison and right through to finally Tony Gates, and then they put the lid on the box, and I thought that was very symbolic.
Oh yeah. I thought that was a nice way of reminding us of all the people that have been involved in this whole thing. But maybe that's it. Maybe that is it. And we're supposed to just imagine in our heads that because Carmichael did not come out of that with any clarity in terms of, I still think that she's sort of being she's still Osborne's person, isn't she? So she's still in, but is she bent, or is she just sort of doing what she thinks she needs to do to progress her career? That's not really clear still.
We left Patricia Carmichael, who is Anna Maxwell Martin, who's brilliant, when Ted Hastings gave his epic speech and said, "Will you carry the fire?" And she's sort of thinking about it, and I think we're left wondering if she has had a change of heart and she will carry the fire, or, you know, stuff it. She's going to dob in Ted Hastings, run her units the way she wants to.
Yeah.
I think that left it open. So we're being asked, do we think there will be another series? I think they've very cleverly left it either way.
I think, maybe it's true that they genuinely don't know. But if you're Jed, you know in your head whether you're planning one or not. I imagine at this point you sort of know.
He's been writing it, surely, if there is. So I had a few questions that I would like to know if it did come back.
Okay.
So,
ask me and I'll tell you.
Okay. So the first one I had, is the chief constable corrupt? Because he's always been a suspect. He was working with Buckles and Thirlwell, both of whom are corrupt. And he gave that speech about he doesn't really believe in corruption.
Institutional corruption, which clearly had just, I mean, that was so pointedly ignoring AC12's massive achievement that I think every single signal in the world is that, you know, that Welsh guy, Philip Osborne, is a wrong un, and he's the one, isn't it? He's the one, because you know, he was involved right back in that awful paedophile ring storyline, which involved Fairbanks, or, you know, back in series whatever it was. And he's been a wrong un ever since. So he's the one that I feel, that's why I think there'll be another series, because I think we need to see him brought down. But maybe not. Maybe it's enough to know that, you know, they've tried their best, and that we know that he's like that.
And I also wondered, I mean, Buckles gave that little smirk, didn't he, as the door shut on his prison cell at the end. And I would like to know who is running the OCG, who is the mastermind, who is in charge of him. Is he going to be sneaked a laptop in that cell, or is somebody else going to sort of step in? Will they find another cop? I just want to know who's running the show, really, especially.
Or are we underestimating Buckles? Is that all part of his act? And actually, he is much cleverer than we've given him credit for.
Well, he must be a bit cleverer than we've given him credit for, because, you know, he was interviewed and nobody, you know, everyone thought he wasn't
set up by Joe Davison, and that was quite clever, the way that she didn't know that it was him. She genuinely thought she was doing stuff for Fairbanks. Is that his name, Fairbanks?
Yeah, Patrick Fair, the old lech in the prison.
Yeah, the old lech in prison who's lost his marbles, and you know, that was good, because you thought, is that all an act or not? And I now think, like everybody else, no, he really, that, you know, he's just in prison. He doesn't remember anything, and he's irrelevant to it now. But they had made her think that he was her father, and he was the one that was sending her these messages. So a
little word on Joe. I mean, what a great advert for witness protection.
Amazing, right? It was quite nice to see someone got a decent happy ending. You know, she's had a whole life of misery and all that stuff going on, and now she's got a lovely dog and a nice
girlfriend, a really nice Fair Isle jumper in the beautiful.
Well. And, you know, good for her. Let's let her have a bit of happiness. And Kate and Steve seemed happy at the end, because you know, Kate looked like she's going back to AC12 if it's still there, and Steve, well, hopefully he'll get this painkiller. So one question was, is he just addicted to the painkillers, or has he actually still got terrible pain? And if so, why doesn't he go and, you know, he needs to take some time off and have some surgery, mate, or do what people do when they're in.
I think I don't think those car chases are any good for his back, so he probably needs to step away from active duty for a while.
But that's the problem, isn't it? He doesn't want to step away, but he might just temporarily have to step away in order to fix it, and then he could, you know, get back to.
I think that was all tied up pretty well. I thought they sort of left it that Kate might go back to AC12. Hastings is going to appeal his enforced retirement. Steve is going to have a bit of time off. Everyone's very supportive. You know, there's a very.
Well, did you understand two things about Ted? One was, why did he go in and say and make his confession to Carmichael? Do you think it's genuinely because he just felt he needed to come clean, and it was just his conscience, because he is an all-round good guy, so he did that? And also the other question about the £50,000, because they're still I don't know. Some people are still confused about why he did that, or you know, how has that been cleared up enough for us now?
I think it has. I think I'm a bit over that storyline now. So I think that was just a little storyline to make us suspect Hastings a little bit all the way through. And I think that is sort of case closed on that. I think he gave it to Steph out of the goodness of his heart because he wanted to, you know, help her make sure she was okay. And that means that Steve can now get together with Steph because she's not bent, or, you know, she's not doing anything illegal
anymore, although she does live in Liverpool, which...
Yeah, we're worried about the long distance relationship, but I think, you know...
Yeah.
We've had someone write in, 100% don't think Buckles is H, another deterrent, bring on episodes. I think she means series 7.
Yeah.
But I think
Buckles is H, or whatever H. Can you even remember why, when Dot did those things, why do we even call him H? I can't, it's all...
Because he taps his hand 4 times, and 4 taps is Morse code for H. And then at the beginning of this episode last night, Hastings said, we've been looking for the 4th man wrongly codenamed H. We're like, what do you mean wrongly codenamed H?
That's why. No, exactly. So let's just, so the 4th man / woman is Buckles. That is not, I don't think that's
no,
that's not we're not debating that anymore, that he's been revealed as the 4th. He
cleverly didn't actually ever admit it. So I think that left it open for another series. So we do know that he orchestrated all of these things. We do know that he was the 4th man. Well, he never actually said it.
No, he didn't, because he said no comment. But right, we need to talk about that ending bit where you know, they cleverly, once he said, haha, I made, you know, the first thing he said, other than no comment, was, we made mugs of you on AC12, which he was very pleased with himself about.
Yes.
And then obviously there was that nice moment when the tables were turned and they could give him these options saying, if you do say this, you can't have immunity, but if you don't say it, you can't have immunity. So, and then that was obviously did that all, because I just thought, can't he just keep saying no comment and then you don't really get anywhere? Or because his face looked like a little boy who'd realised he had gone on the thing. He was like, what?
He looked like a slightly gormless psychopath. Like, he's obviously got no empathy whatsoever. So he seemed a bit psychopathic, but also a bit gormless. And as you say, like a little kid. I think he just suddenly made that comment, a bit like the what's the famous moment in the film A Few Good Men when he says, you know, you're damn right I ordered a code red. I felt like it was a bit like he couldn't help himself.
He had to
say, we made mugs out of you.
Yeah, and which is an admission. That's his admission that he's on the other side, right? And then and that evidence, which we need to give credit to Chloe. I mean, Chloe was brilliant in that episode, wasn't she?
Chloe single-handedly could have wrapped up the whole thing by episode 2.
Everyone else was running around in police cars, and she's just there looking at some spellings and going, "Yep, I've got you."
So a lot of viewers I saw last night when I was looking on Twitter were cross that they felt that a lot of the big stuff happened off screen. You know, Chloe went away, squirreled away, and then just appeared and said, by the way, I've analysed all of this evidence and I figured it all out, and we didn't see any of it.
No, but you can't watch computer. That is a computer system running through.
Right.
I mean, you know, we just have to know that that's what happened, and she's put it together and linked it, you know, all back to him. But you know, by the time they'd found his secret house, registered to a company in the Cayman Islands, and got up the floorboards and found the tech with the right thing, that, you know, it's him, isn't it? It's all his stuff. There's no, he can't wriggle out of it. The reason he's smirking is that, as you say, he still knows that he's going to get special treatment or whatever because of the people who are still in the OCG that we don't know about, and presumably the higher up police people that can. Yeah,
absolutely. That moment where he offered Hastings a glass of water was brilliant. And I know that people are cross about. I think there are always some people who are cross about a finale. But I think we had a police chase. You know, we had Joe saved. We had a big interrogation scene. We had a reveal. I liked that scene where he very slowly walked into the interrogation room and we didn't know who it was.
Yeah, I loved that. I loved that, not knowing and guessing. Somebody here, Madeline, says, Buckles is psychopathic. Remember how cold he was when Lakewell was garroted in prison. And it's funny because now I look back on that and think, yeah, he just stood there. But do you remember just before it, he was making that cup of tea?
Yes.
And his hands were shaking, and I believed he was really, petrified. And then, but is that an act, or presumably you can still be petrified even if you're involved in the whole thing, because you know that somebody's about to get murdered. I mean,
yeah, I think even if you're involved in the OCG and you've just been put in a prison cell because people suspect you, then you're going to be vulnerable and you're going to be scared.
Yeah, because people are bumped all the time, and look at the way that Lakewell hadn't even said anything, and all he did was go back to prison. And
I know. Talking of all he did, James Nesbitt, easiest acting job anyone has ever had.
I love the fact that he literally wasn't in it. He had his photo taken. That was probably an old photo. I mean, the CGI, the photo fit was obviously just done from a picture of him, so he didn't have to do anything. And he had one picture taken in Belfast Harbour pretending to be in Spain.
Yeah,
that was it. And he managed to do interviews about his role on. I mean, that's quite embarrassing, isn't it? Really,
I think it's absolutely brilliant. And actually, that was the only thing I think I got right when I predicted what would happen. I did guess that Thirlwell would be dead because other guest stars have come in and out of line of duty very briefly.
Look at Jessica Raine thrown straight out of a window. I mean,
yeah.
I thought if he wasn't dead, we're going down a whole avenue of stuff going on in Spain, and I didn't.
Yeah, like an OCG on the Costa del Sol, like a spin-off.
You can see why, if you're working with James Nesbitt on another drama, which Jed was, they were shooting that other thing, Bloodland, was it called?
Bloodlands, yeah.
Yeah. So, it's an easy thing. You just have a chat one day and say, "Oh, can we pop your picture in and pretend that you're?"
I think it's very clever. I think it was a very nice little, they teased the big actor going into it. Do you know, whatever you say about the final, for 6 weeks over the 7 episodes, everyone has been talking about it. Even last night, with people loving it and hating it, it's provoked debate. We've all been so fully invested. Who's going into it? Who's the guest star? Who's H? I think it's been brilliant, and I think it's done its job.
The more I think about it, like now that we're talking about it more, the better I think it is. I think it just needs to. I think people need to let it settle in a bit and sort of think about, or maybe even watch it again, because there's so many little looks and things that you need to perhaps notice, and they could carry more meaning for you. And that's the whole point, isn't it? You've got to think about what it might all add up to or not add up to. There are no definites.
There are no definites. I think, he was never going to hand us all of the answers by the end of the episode. And I don't think he should have done. And I think it's actually very clever that we've been left feeling that it could be the end and we had enough answered, but there's enough to go forward if we want.
If we want to. And our trio of heroes are still intact. The lies cost lives thing thankfully didn't cost theirs.
Yes.
Which that's
oh, here you go. So Sarah's asking, there are too many questions still. What are they going to do about Lomax, and what's happening between Arnott and Fleming, and is Ted going to win his appeal? So the Lomax thing, so did you?
Yes, I was confused by the Lomax thing, but then somebody pointed out that did get answered in that, because as soon as you saw his name on that sheet, and then it was, and you think, oh my God, he's done it, and he's forged he's forged Kate's name, but then they said later, no, the whole thing was forged. So
yes, I think that was answered, and I think that was just a very nice little tease.
We all went, oh my God, it's Lomax. Oh no, it's okay, he's okay. And then at the end, you saw him just standing in his suit, and I was really glad because I quite liked him. He just seemed like a nice.
I suspected him actually, but I think that was a nice little trick at the end. I think Arnott and Fleming are back to being mates. They're going to support each other. She'll go back to AC12. The dream team back, and I think the Hastings Carmichael thing, we have to see how that would play out. But I think, do you want another series? Do you think it should come back?
Before I would have said try and wrap it all up in this one, but now it's ended the way it has. I know that in 2 years' time, if we're talking, if they've made another one, we're still going to be very interested, to see who else can be. Is there still a bigger fish? There's always a bigger fish, isn't there?
Yeah.
And that's what we've been thinking all along. And maybe they can do it in a more direct way. So there's less of a guessing game and more of a, we need to bring down Osborne, you know, and then have an aim, and then it'll be all the twists and turns along the way as they try and do that.
Yeah.
So in short, I think probably yes, but I think it would need to be the final one. Yeah,
and I think we'd need to almost know that. We'd have to know that was the last one, and it would be more of a how done it. You know, how do ACTEL bring down corruption? I mean, I think the whole series has been a real comment on lots of things. You know, lots of real life cases, like the Lawrence Christopher case was obviously about 2 real life cases. So I think there's been lots of comment on corruption and corruption in institutions and things like that. You know, it wasn't shocking enough for people last night, but I don't know what more could have been done. There were shocks and there was a chase, interrogation scene.
No one died, did they, in the last one? There was no sort of shootout or somebody, you know. I think after the end of series 3, with urgent exit required, the best ending of any series ever, possibly.
Yeah.
Everything else is never going to be quite as, but you know, you cannot have that every time.
No.
That was a good ending, though, wasn't it? Did you see there that somebody was saying if Lomax was, you know, if that document was completely forged, which was said, and that's what we're all supposed to believe, so that's why we've all accepted that Lomax is fine. Who forged it? If Buckles couldn't have done it, if he's locked up.
No, true. I think we've definitely been left knowing that there is more corruption out there, and that
could have been Carmichael, because she's there's definitely still bad uns out there, isn't there?
Yeah, absolutely. But we'll all be watching, no matter what people think of it. And
do you think there should be another one, or would you like that to be, you know, that you put all the pictures in the box, close the lid, bosh, move on? Is that what you're thinking?
I think I enjoy the reaction as much as watching the show. So I think I'm enjoying the arguments this morning, and I will equally enjoy it if it comes back and everyone will say, oh no, it's back, how can it come back? And then we'll all watch it, 15 million of us, and we'll love it just as much as we have done. So I'd be quite happy to see it again. And I'm going to go and buy a mug that says a mug of AC12, because that's what we're supposed to do. No one makes mugs of AC12.
Oh my God, I want a mug of AC12. Right, when you find it, let me know. I'm having one as well.
Okay. Thanks very much.
Okay, bye, Sarah.
Bye.